In the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, former MP for Tamale Central challenges charge of offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace leveled against him as he's granted 100,000 Ghana cedi bail for urging NDC flag bearer John Mahama to run a parallel government.
Well, I also said in my statement that the statement that I made could not by any stretch of imagination breach the peace. I will not be at this time prepared to curtail my right to be able to express my views.
So is it a case of taking it too far when expressing your right to speech? We'll hear from a lawyer here on Newsnight. Also, Ghana Education Service halts implementation of the controversial double-track system for first and third-year senior high school students.
This year, we don't intend to do double track for the first years. We've built enough to cater for the students so that they don't necessarily have to do double track.
Also, no more massing up at the Independence Square for school placements. Ghana Education Service announces as it introduces a virtual platform to resolve senior high school placement challenges. I have details. And Ghana waives its right to hold manufacturer of COVID-19 vaccines accountable if anything goes wrong after vaccination.
So Ghana has signed the indemnity clause for the COVAX facility. If you look at the Sputnik, it's not part of the COVAX facility. So Ghana is yet to sign that arrangement.
I have more from the Ghana Health Service as the country takes delivery of more than 500,000 vaccines this week. And tonight, pressure mounts on government to take a definite stance on the future of LGBTQI activities as pro-gay advocacy begins to gain grounds in the country.
The president issued instructions, so the office has been closed. Now, there are other things that are going to happen during the course of the week. Let us hold the legislature, let us hold the presidency to ensure that our laws are clean. And we're working on it already.
We have more as a group calling itself Journalists Against LGBTQI demand the immediate declaration of pro-gay members of diplomatic community as persona non grata. Stay for details. And in business,
Bank of Ghana promises to institute additional measures to help banking sector withstand second COVID-19 shocks.
And in sports, head coach of the Black Satellites, Karim Zito, knows exactly how his side can secure qualification to the quarterfinal stage of the Under-20 AFCON as they meet Gambia tonight.
And later in the bulletin, this weekend's bangers.
Don't feel me about it, I don't care. I smoke and I don't care. Everything them talk me, I don't care.
You can't tell you bone hit problem why you know go fit. Walk as I know so you need one to win an Emma. Your entire career club into me one hit.
You know why you ought to stay for tonight's edition of Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM with me, Emefa Apawu. Please join me with your thoughts and comments. It's via WhatsApp 055-1111-997. You're watching on Facebook. Welcome. Please leave your comments there as well. And tonight, former MP for Tamale Central has challenged charge of offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace leveled against him as he's granted 100,000 Ghana cedi bail for comments he made last year. The NDC MP in the aftermath of the December 7 polls asked NDC flag bearer John Mahama to run a parallel government. The police on several counts invited Mr. Inusa Fuseni to assist with investigation, but he refused. The situation forced the police to obtain a criminal summons against the former MP. The court this morning handed over the former Roads and Highways Minister to the police to assist with further investigations of a comment he made on television. Now, listen to the former NDC MP saying that his action does not amount to interfering with the peace of the nation. He spoke to Joy News' Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
I went to court on the court summons, and the court handed me over to the police to assist them in investigations. So here at the police station, they played the recorded version of the Alaji of the 12th.
Oh, so they played that interview to you?
Yes, on the 12th of December, and asked what I make of it. Then I explained. If you listen to the interview very well, there are two things that I said. One was that I was expressing a view. And second, if the flag bearer of the NDC was mandated to take my views. And clearly, he didn't take my views. And at that time that I said those things, plans were far advanced to go to court. So it was just political talk and nothing else. So they said I should reduce it into writing. So I gave them a statement. And I've been bailed. I've been told to come back tomorrow.
But have you been charged for anything?
But the charge was the basis upon which I appeared in court. Yes, the offense they are investigating was the basis for the court summons.
Okay.
And that is offensive conduct conducive to the breach of the peace.
Okay.
Well, I also said in my statement that the statement appearing on Pan-African TV is not offensive conduct. And that the statement that I made could not by any stretch of imagination breach the peace.
So you don't regret, making those comments?
They were just views. They were just opinions. They were just, and at the time that those view was expressed and those statements were made, I knew that they would not come to. They mean nothing, because at that time I can tell you as a matter of fact that I knew that the NDC was far advanced in preparations towards going to court.
But on a hindsight, would you say you shouldn't have said that? Perhaps?
Why? I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there because it touches on my right to freedom of expression. And I don't want to delve into that. Because I will not be, at this time, prepared to curtail my right to be able to express my views.
That's the former MP for Tamale Central, Inusa Fuseni there. Let's bring in his lawyer, Eduji Kojo Tamaklo. We're grateful for your time here on Newsnight. So first off, let's clarify this. Is offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace the only charge that was proffered against the former MP?
Okay, so Emefa, good evening, and good evening to your listeners. A few things happened. Let me just correct this. On the 24th day of December 2020, I personally presented a letter to the Director of Operations of the CID and indicated why my client was unable to honor that invitation because of an urgent meeting he had to go, among other things, in Tamale. Now, from the 24th day of December 2020, when I personally delivered the letter, there had not been any correspondence whatsoever between the police and us relative to the letter and the reason we gave for our inability to honor the invitation then. And since then, there had not been any other invitation extended whatsoever. And so it came to us as a big surprise that the police went rather to the district court for criminal summons to be issued. Now, today, I had to explain to the judge presiding over the matter and the criminal summons that this, that, and that's what happened. And so the police had even filed a charge sheet on the few matters that we raised. The court had to strike out that particular charge sheet because what the court indicated is at this point where even no statement has been taken from the accused person, proceeding with this matter may raise some issues at the end of the day. So we basically had to come to the police CID headquarters for his statement now to be taken. And thereafter, we applied for bail, and the police graciously granted us, and we left the place.
So as it stands now, there's no charge against your client. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Because you're saying that the offensive conduct conducive to the breach of peace has been struck out. It doesn't exist anymore.
Well, if the statement is taken, the police would indicate in that statement that we are investigating an offense that relates to Section 207. And so you are supposed to give a statement relative to that. But like I indicated, as we speak, there's no charge sheet whatsoever filed at any registry that relates to this matter.
Okay.
That's what I can confirm.
Okay, so today, after the court directed that you assist the police CID with further investigations, as it stands now, there's no charge.
Because, and I explained to the lady judge that as far as we are concerned, we rather sent a letter on the 24th. And since then, at least we expected that the respect that we gave the police by presenting the letter on the 24th of December 2020, at least some courtesy to cement that relationship. And so to jump straight away to the court for criminal summons to be issued was a bit problematic for us. But there again, the charge that was filed this morning, the courts decided to strike it out and to say that we should rather go for everything to be done properly.
Okay, so he was granted 100,000 Ghana cedi bail. He met all the bail conditions?
Yes, we did that immediately and left the police headquarters.
Okay, so listening to his reaction to my colleague Kwesi Parker-Wilson, the issue about right to free speech coming up, for you think that he pushed too far his expression of right to free speech?
Well, I had cause to basically complain to the police that it's quite strange that, first of all, the offense relates to offensive conduct. So my understanding is that the conduct in question must first be offensive. This was a radio program. How a discussion on radio suddenly will become an offensive conduct, well, remains something that maybe the top brass of the police will unravel. But the only difficulty that I have, which I expressed to the police, is the danger of turning the country into a police state, whereupon you have Section 207 being applied to every situation for a certain outcome. Once it happens, it becomes problematic. Because then you even calling me and me answering, I may just, in answer to questions from you, say something that someone will interpret as, quote, offensive conduct, when it's just a phone conversation. So what really constitutes a conduct that is offensive? We really need to look at it again.
Okay.
Because of the potential that such penal legislation can have greater implication for the right of citizens to express themselves.
Now, briefly, what happens next then after this directive from the court and the bill granted?
Well, I'm sure we'll be attending upon the police, maybe to assist with a further investigation. Yes.
We'll leave it here then. Thank you so much for your time. That's Eduji Kojo Tamaklo, is a counsel for former MP for Tamale Central and former Roads and Highways Minister Inusa Fuseni. This is Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. And on to some other stories now, because the Ghana Education Service has pulled the brakes on the implementation of the controversial double track system, starting with the first and final year students of the senior high schools. Announcing the decision to join News, Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Kwesi Amankwa, insists the service is not bowing to pressure following the criticism that greeted the policy. The green and double track system was introduced by government to enable various senior high schools to take in more students due to infrastructural deficits in the various schools. But according to Professor Amankwa, that has been resolved now. He explains further.
This year, we don't intend to do double track for the first years. The double track came in because of the subscription of some schools that people wanted to go into. And we felt that we should give them the opportunity to do that. In almost all these schools, we've built enough to cater for the students so that they don't necessarily have to do double track. But Emefa, the disadvantage is that school is still oversubscribed. So you still have a team of people still waiting out there. So if that school can now take 900, why wouldn't us decide that school should be given that opportunity to do 2 900s so that this time round it will not do just 900, but it will do 1,800. And I think this is a conversation that as a country we need to take up.
But then why are you then yielding or bowing to the criticism? Because there were concerns about this double track. So it appears that government is bowing to pressure, hence the decision to phase it out.
No, we are not bowing to that pressure. Obviously, we set ourselves a target. It's a policy that we indicated that this policy will travel over this period.
No, we are not yet.
Yeah, so we're still going. So what we need to do is that we said that we'll be phasing it out gradually. The fact of the matter is that no matter what the situation, we can never ever build to catch up with the numbers. We can never ever build to catch up with the numbers.
And he also made an announcement that there will be no more massing up at the Independence Square for school placement as part of measures to curb spread of the COVID-19 virus. So they've introduced a virtual platform to resolve the annual school placement concern to avoid massing up of parents and students at the Independence Square. Listen.
You may recall that in the past, what we have done is that when schools, when we're doing the school placement, we get students to do self-placement. And as part of resolving issues that come up, we get to set up what we call solution centers. They go in there, they indicate their issues or challenges, someone records them, then we take it back to the technical people to get it resolved, and then later we either call them or we get them to come back to pick those issues. Unfortunately for us, this year we can't do that because of the COVID. So we decided that rather than setting up the solution centers, we'd rather have call centers, which will be virtual. People will call in and then we'll resolve their issues for them. So we decided to set up the call centers. And we have one which you just visited, but we are also working with a team across the country to ensure that as many people as possible are receiving the calls and then responding to the issues that come up. So we've looked at the issues that come, and we realized that about 70 to 80% of the issues actually has to do with self-placement, people who go to do the self-placement. Now, we have decided and worked with the consultants to ensure that this time round, when you do your self-placement, you do it the first time, you don't get to lock yourself in.
That's the Director General of the Ghana Education Service, Professor Kwesi Opoku-Amankwa. Now, let's talk about COVID-related matters, because the Ghana Health Service has disclosed that the government has waived its right to hold the manufacturer of COVID-19 vaccines accountable if anything goes wrong after Ghanaians have been vaccinated. The service is expected to take delivery of more than 500,000 vaccines this week to be administered. So far, AstraZeneca, manufactured by the British and Russian-made Sputnik 5 vaccines, have been approved for the inoculations in Ghana. We'll hear shortly details on the indemnity clause, but first, listen to Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Franklin Asiedu Bekwe, on the arrival of the vaccines.
Yes, so the plan has been presented by the Honorable Minister and the DG and the other team members to the Presidential Task Force for COVID-19 response. We also presented
that agreement of about 10 million doses. We are yet to come to when it's coming. There are a lot of illegal issues to go around it, and then we can be certain when to get it in the country.
So we don't know when.
What I can talk about is the AstraZeneca. The initial ones will come this week. But for this Sputnik, I don't have a lot of information about when it's coming. I think a little less than 500,000 are coming this week.
500,000.
That's the first part. You know, if you look at the COVAX facility, Ghana is supposed to get 6 million, and then for initial start, we are getting 2.4 million. So this is the first batch of the 2.4 million which is coming, and it's purely the AstraZeneca which fits into our existing code.
Dr. Bekwe also tells Joy News recipient countries know that even though these vaccines have been approved, the speed with which they were produced opens it up for a few excesses.
So Ghana has signed the indemnity clause for the COVAX facility. If you look at the Sputnik, it is not part of the COVAX facility. So Ghana is yet to sign that agreement with the present government. Apparently, if you look at the ministry or the president, he wants us to be dealing directly with the stores. So in terms of like AstraZeneca, we actually signed a contract with the Serum Institute of India. So for Sputnik 5 or B, as we talked about, we are yet to get that arrangement done. As I said, we had the signing or the approval done a few days ago, and the government is going to engage the Russian government in that perspective. But as was said by we are not limiting ourselves to particular vaccines. If you want 40 million doses, then you need to up your game, either create more cold rooms or making sure that you get available vaccines. So we are not restricted in terms of the kind of vaccine. So far as the state, the cost is not an issue for us to get the 40 million doses.
So that's Dr. Franklin Yesiadubekwin, Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service. This is an issue we'll interrogate further shortly. But a programs manager at the Enhanced Program of Immunizations at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kwame Amponsa-Chiano, provides details on Ghana's vaccine rollout plan.
Yes, so the plan has been presented by the Honorable Minister and the DG and the other team members to the Presidential Task Force for COVID-19 response. We also presented that to WHO. They reviewed it, the Afro region, and made some inputs which we have incorporated. And I'm sure many of you have heard of COVAX. COVAX is only a facility that is supporting countries with equitable distribution so that the giants don't take all the vaccines away. So COVAX is giving us vaccines for approximately 20% of our population. So potential sources of vaccines have been identified, including both multilateral and bilateral agencies. So I mentioned the COVAX facility, the African Medicine Supplies Platform, M-Pharma. The bilaterals include the Tony Blair Foundation, the Ghana Private Sector Fund, and I think I missed out the AU, the African Union. So these are the expected initial doses, a little over 350,000 doses of Covishield, which is the AstraZeneca vaccine produced by the Serum Institute of India, are expected in the country by next week and towards the end of February, latest.
So Dr. Amponsa-Chiano explains further that there is no evidence to suggest any serious side effects from the vaccine so far.
There hasn't been any serious side effects. But if you remember, if you are giving vaccines to a lot of people, obviously one or two very rare adverse events might happen. It is within the safety profile that all vaccines have had. And so normally when you give a vaccine that is injectable, you tend to have some form of fever. And then also depending on the type of vaccine, you may have some kind of abdominal problems. You may get a headache swelling around. But some people may have pain. Obviously, a needle going through you. Some may have some itches. In fact, it's a process of developing the immunity that generates all this. Mm-hmm. And so it's not just because the vaccine is making you sick, but it's telling you that something is going on for which your system is adjusting. Mm-hmm. And this we can recognize and deal with them.
So that's the assurance from the manager of the Enhanced Program of Immunizations at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kwame Amponsa-Chiano there. So once the vaccines arrive between today, tomorrow and Wednesday, are you ready to receive the jabs? That's the question we posed to some of you. Listen.
So if the vaccines come in today, I wouldn't take it. Not because I don't have confidence in it, but I'll just stick to my safety protocols rather than rushing for the vaccine unless it's by compulsion.
For me, when the vaccines come in, I'll take them. We are supposed to fight COVID. We have to get our lives back. I've heard people talk about theories that, the whites want to do this and that and that. But hey, we haven't done anything to produce any vaccine. Anyways, we get our drugs from the West, more often. So
in order to protect my friends, my loved ones, and those around me and myself, I think I would go for the COVID vaccine should it be made available. Once that protection is guaranteed, I think I would go for it any day, any time.
I don't have much confidence in the vaccine, but at the same time, I'm not very reluctant to it. So if it comes today, I may probably not go and get it first. I would wait for some people to take it first and see how it's works in them, and then if I am confident in the people's response to the vaccine, then I may go for it.
That's the vaccine, notwithstanding the efficacy they claim it has. If it comes today and it's been administered today, to be very honest with you, I don't think I'll take it today. Maybe I'll wait for a month or two for others to take it. It's not like I'm being selfish, but you have to see the results in others, You have to see how potent it is in others before you go for it.
some of your views on whether or not you're willing to receive the COVID-19 vaccines once they arrive in Ghana. But earlier, you heard the Director of Public Health, Dr. Franklin Yesiedu-Bekwin, tell us that government has waived its rights to hold the manufacturer of COVID-19 vaccines accountable if anything goes wrong after Ghanaians have been vaccinated. Let's bring in Dr. Justice Yangsing. He's the General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. Thankfully, he's a lawyer and a doctor as well. So after all the assurances that we've been given, Dr. Yangsing, we're grateful for your time. Now we're hearing that government has waived its right to hold the manufacturer of the vaccines accountable if anything goes wrong after I have been vaccinated. Should I be worried?
Well, good evening, Emefa. The truth is that this agreement between government and the manufacturer is one that does not technically seek consent as per se. It is the state dealing with a certain manufacturer. Unfortunately, we are not privy to the entirety of the details at this point. So we wouldn't be able to interrogate the very detailed provisions within. But suffice to say that as a country, we also work within a certain regulatory framework or regime where the Food and Drugs Authority, the Ministry of Health, under these circumstances sits above all the processes. And technically speaking, the regulator being the Food and Drugs Authority is the one that grants approvals or authorizations for such activity. And at this point, they have granted what we call the emergency use authorization. What that presupposes is that the necessary due diligence has been done by the state agency, at which point clearly they are satisfied with the vaccine as it is at the moment. Mind you, this will not be the first country, or Ghana is not the first country to sign such an agreement with the manufacturer of a product. All countries at this point in time have signed onto similar agreements with the various manufacturers of various vaccines. So the U.S. government and Pfizer, the U.K. government and AstraZeneca, other European countries, the Israelis, the South Africans. This is standard industry practice. It is not something that, let's say, suddenly Ghana government went out there to do out of the blue. The comforting bit is that the World Health Organization also approves of these vaccines at this moment. So in terms of the structure, that should not really prevent us as citizens from getting the product. The various drugs we use currently, when they all started, some of these clauses may have been agreed on to by state parties or organizational parties whatsoever. And at this point, we all go ahead to consume them. This is not the first time vaccines are actually being used on this planet. We've gone through these processes. And as we speak, over 180 million, getting to about 190 million people have been vaccinated for COVID-19 worldwide.
Okay.
So we should not be worried at this point at all.
Well, so we're expecting the first batch, which is 500,000 doses of the vaccines. Well, you've listened to some of the views of people that we spoke to earlier. At this point, is it compulsory for us to take the vaccine once they're in?
Well, from what I know, being part of some of the processes that have happened, there is no compulsion at this particular moment. And what the state has put out there for all of us to know, especially the program that was held on last Friday at Alisa Hotel, which was more about the rollout. What we were made to know is that, yes, by and large, the country aims to vaccinate minimum 20 million of our people. This are going to be done in phases because we can't get all 40-something million vaccines here at the same time. We keep mentioning 20 and 40-something because each person, at least for now, if you are going by the AstraZeneca vaccine, has to take 2 doses. So if you are aiming at, say, 20 million people, you are looking at a minimum of 40 million. Now, these persons who are going to be vaccinated have actually been segmented in a way, not because there's there's importance attached to some group than others, no, but it's just some form of prioritization where individuals will have to be getting the drugs as we go on. So now the first line may include health workers. It may include some leaders in our communities. It could be the executive proper. It could be traditional local heads, just for people to appreciate the fact that it is in our common interest, and the fact that we also need to protect, say, frontline workers who are out there battling the disease. But by and large, the focus is to get all that numbers, 20 million plus, vaccinated. So we shouldn't be too skeptical. We should just believe that, look, what has transpired elsewhere, same will be replicated here, and it is in our common good.
So briefly then, Dr. Yankson, at what point, you've talked about no compulsion at this point, at what point would we have to trigger the public health law in terms of getting everyone vaccinated?
Well, it's very difficult to say, but what can happen is that we have various laws that deal with public health situations. I mean, provisions. We have a Public Health Act. There are sections of it that spells out some powers that the minister can invoke, or the state itself. By minister, I mean the minister responsible for health, or the state itself can invoke under such emergency conditions, pandemic situations like we have. And some of it have actually been invoked either through executive instruments or some other form of legislation. So clearly all those provisions in there can actually be invoked, especially if you look at 22. It can be invoked by the states. But I think at this point, it is more of doing a lot more risk communication, talking to the population to understand the importance of same, and then people coming out voluntarily to take the vaccines to protect themselves and the community at large. Okay. But beyond all the bits that are in the laws, and mind you, these laws were not created because of COVID. They
Oh no, we've just lost Dr. Justice Yankson there on the phone, but pretty much the point has been made at this point. We're indeed grateful, and apologies for that. We just lost you there on the line. Dr. Justice Yankson is the General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association. He's a lawyer and a doctor as well, and we've been looking at the announcement that government has waived its right in terms of if anything goes wrong with the vaccination, and he's been assuring us that there's nothing wrong at all. Most of you have been sharing your views on whether you should take the vaccine or not. You are assured about its safety and efficacy. You need to take it. But I have a message from Enes from Taifa. Says COVID is real. Whilst waiting patiently for the vaccines, let's observe the necessary protocols. And David in Akachi says the president, his ministers must first be vaccinated. It looks like I sense some mischief in that statement, but there's a rollout plan and it's been put out there. Most of them will be taking it before it gets to our 10. So no fears at all. This is Newsnight. Your comments are welcome. Is 055-1111-997. George Riafe is ready for that inoculation. Are you?
You don't have a choice, Emefa. Then, if I look at development in certain countries, Emefa, you want to look at the data
Did you
because
say we don't have a choice.
If that is what is going to, if it's going to immunize me against this thing, that is what I mean by I don't have a choice. And if you look at data, Emefa, from other countries like Israel and even UK. And even in US as well, if those things are anything to go by, as in the effectiveness of these vaccines, then it looks like we may have to accept it because Israel is doing so well. We've seen a sharp drop in mortality rate as well, UK as well, and even in US as well.
There's nothing to be afraid of.
And if these things are really working in those countries and we believe that these are the same things that are coming here, then it looks like it looks like this vaccine could be, or this virus might be contained very, very soon. That's why even if you look in the commodities industry, they are betting on this. They think that because of this, demand for oil will start surging soon. And that's why we've seen the prices going up, Emefa?
Good, but what's in business?
Well, Emefa, coming up in business, Bank of Ghana promises to institute additional measures to help the banking sector withstand the second COVID-19 wave shocks. And energy expert Ishmael Jekumihine pushes for a review of laws covering Ghana's oil investments. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, and Allianz Insurance.
That's the sound of my heart breaking the first time I said I wanted to be a cassava farmer.
Thank you.
But this was when I graduated with first class honors in agriculture. Oh, my first harvester. The last harvester I ordered online. That's people seeing my fresh cassava page on Facebook and Instagram. And endless number of calls for my quick fufu all year round.
There are beautiful connections that bridge humble todays to amazing tomorrows on Ghana's #1 network, everywhere you go.
Our 130-year journey at Allianz has seen our operations growing to cover over 92 million Allianz customers in over 70 countries worldwide. Allianz Life Insurance Ghana, a subsidiary of Allianz Group, has put together a wide range of insurance packages to suit the pockets of every Ghanaian individual, family, group, corporate body, as well as their employees. Kindly call us on 030-2267-892 or 059-144-9686 or visit our website www.allianz-gh.com for more enquiries. Allianz Life, we secure your future.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, the Bank of Ghana has indicated that it will not hesitate to institute additional measures to help the banking sector withstand shocks associated with the second wave of COVID-19. The banking sector has been largely immune to the first pandemic with improved liquidity, strong assets, profits, and some improved lending as well to businesses in the country. But speaking via a webinar with the council members of the Ghana Association of Bankers, Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, noted that everything must be done to protect the sector.
As regulators, let me assure you that the Bank of Ghana is continuously monitoring the financial and economic environment to ensure the banking system operates effectively in delivering financial intermediation to support the recovery efforts. To this end, the policy measures, including the reduction in regulatory buffers, are designed to help banks to continue providing financing to households and businesses. To further build our defenses against the pandemic, I would encourage the Ghana Association of Banks to continuously engage industry players to collectively strengthen their operational resilience in these times. From the supervisory perspective, I would entreat the various risk managers to continuously stress test your banks under different extreme but plausible scenarios to enable you contain possible risks that may emanate from the COVID-induced uncertainty.
And that's the Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison. Energy expert Ishmael Jekumihine is pushing for a review of the laws covering the country's oil investment. The Ghana Petroleum account with the New York Federal Bank shows that the country since 2011 has gotten about $74 million from almost $1.9 billion invested of its oil cash. But speaking with Joy Business, Mr. Jekumihine says the time has come to reopen the debate on this issue.
Changing the investment law, there are pros and cons. Assuming we go and invest in very risky businesses and the instruments and the market collapses like is happening in the US at the moment, it means you would have lost big time. So there are trade-offs. Maybe we should make it a little bit more flexible for the BOG to maybe invest in the local market or venture into more riskier investment. But clearly, if we want more money from those investments, then we should be prepared to take risk. The rate at which the funds are growing is very, very slow. And we need to, after 10 years, we need to probably take another look and see if we can amend the act so that we can have some of the investments in some other forms of instruments that yield higher returns than what is the monies are being invested in at the moment.
Energy expert Ishmael Ejekum Hene. Financial consultant Charles Mensah has indicated the preparedness of some businesses to withstand the associated shocks of the second wave of COVID-19. There are fears that a lot more businesses could go down again as a result of the negative impact of the second coronavirus. But Mr. Mensah tells their business a lot of firms may have learned their lessons.
Not really. I mean, I think the experiences that some of them have had in the first wave will pave way for the second wave. The second wave really is affecting quite a number of persons and individuals. Unfortunately, or fortunately for us, we haven't had a shutdown on the economy. So activities are still going, and that's the respite that the businesses can rely upon. As we speak, most companies have really revised their notes and applied new strategies. If you have a main shop in a main street, the shop now becomes a warehouse. So you connect to a delivery system and the goods will be picked from the warehouse, because you would not have individuals coming to the shop just because of the risk associated with it.
Charles Mensah is a financial consultant. There have been mixed reactions over plans to review the retirement age in the country. This follows calls by the Minister for Employment and Labour Relations designate Ignatius Bafuewa. The call has also been influenced by concerns that the current sustainability of the SNIT pension scheme is under threat. Let's hear these calls or these responses to some who believe that it should be reviewed, while others think that it should be maintained.
It should not be revised. It should be 60 years. Because if you look at a lot of people who comes out from school every year, people must retire so that people can also get employment.
I think it should be increased because looking at the country, we normally start working officially at a very old age. So you don't get to save much when you are 60. So I think,
of course, I am of the opinion that it should be maintained. But after the 60 years, the company in which you work can give you a contract of 3 years or 5 years and give you a special package that will earn you a lot of income.
I think it should be maintained at 60 years because my dad retired at 60, and by that time he was very weak. So he died like literally 5 years afterwards. So I feel like it being maintained at that age, it helps them, like, fine, they get to get enough money and, like, be prepared for their retirement.
So people like me, I will suggest you people make it around 70 or 80 itself.
And those were views of some Ghanaians about proposals to increase the retirement age at current 60 years to help deal with challenges facing the SNIT pension scheme. So, Emefa, what are your thoughts? Should we peg it at 60 or still cut 60 and be put on contract?
Already, people are being put on contracts. They stay up to like 70 or so. So we should still keep it at 60, I think.
Interesting.
Thank you, George. We are with the latest from the world of business. I'll take some of your comments that you sent in. And Sarah, a mouthful in Winneba, says, I hope, says, I hope you're doing well and keeping safe. Why are they imposing the COVID vaccine on us? Sarah, at this point, nobody is imposing it on us. And this one is asking, please, when are they releasing the placement? You're talking about the computer system placement. Well, we are told that sometime this week that will happen. And Paulo in Keta says, when people sit in Accra and make statement that we built enough to face out double track, one wonders if you're all in Ghana. Please, this cannot be true. My school, I don't see them doing away with double track unless they place less than 100 first years there, he says. Paulo in Keta reacting to the decision by the Ghana Education Service to phase out the double track system. Kofi Seidu says he finds it awkward and strange that Honorable Yunusa Hussein will be reported to the police CID for merely expressing an opinion. Freedom of speech, he says, is under attack. And Musa Abatwa in Kumasi says, I see no issue about Yunusa Husseini's comments. They are chasing him just for the political experience. And AU Farouk in Tamale says, can the imported COVID-19 vaccine be suitable for Ghanaians? Elsewhere in Africa, the vaccine did not match the body condition of the inhabitants. So we've been giving the assurance, at least we've heard from the Director General of the Ghana Health Service. We've heard from some scientists also. If you're referring to the South African case, and because of the South African variant, which is not dominant here in Ghana just yet, so that's why what we've been told is that this one we are getting from AstraZeneca and the Russian Sputnik 5 is very efficacious. Shiftman Atonsu in Kumasi, good to hear from you. Been a while. He says it was 9-0 dismissal again on the petitioner's review applications. Chachichi Qatar is very tired, and I beg Ghanaians to pardon. Okay, so and that's your comment. And Citizen Sika Togo says, I find it disturbing and distasteful that this thorny issue of LGBTQI office, I have to take my time for that, in Ghana, our leaders must make a determined stance on the issue once and for all. Citizen Sika sends that one. And I have one from Kingsford Sepenu Nyatepe from Akachi. Says, I'm so grateful to the president after hearing him order for the closure of this demonic LGBTQI office. Let's maintain the culture of our beloved country, Ghana. This is Newsnight here on Joy 99.7 FM. And of course, that's our next story for tonight.
Strong coalition has emerged, which is having that impact on public opinion that will say, change it. Let's then have a new paradigm in Ghana.
Is that something you would get behind?
I think that it is something that is bound to happen. And when that happens...
What's going to provoke it? What's going to make it happen?
Oh, it's the activity, like elsewhere in the world. Like elsewhere in the world, the activities of individuals, of groups. At the moment, I don't see that in Ghana there is that strong current of opinion that is saying this is something that we need to even deal with. It's not so far a matter which is on the agenda.
President Akufo-Addo back in 2018 speaking in an interview on Al Jazeera when he was asked why homosexuality is still illegal in Ghana. Well, tonight pressure is mounting on government to take a definite stance on the growing activities of the LGBTQI community in Ghana. In less than a week, up to 5 major anti-gay rights and other faith-based organizations, including the Catholic Bishops' Conference and the Christian Council and the Pentecostal and Charismatic Movement, have called on government to clamp down on the operations of pro-LGBT groups in the country. Now, these calls come on the back of a fundraiser event organized by the LGBT community to open its office space in Accra. The event, which was attended by some members of the diplomatic corps, has courted widespread opposition to the movement. We'll be hearing from journalists against LGBTQ shortly, but before that, here is a sample of responses from ministerial nominees when asked of their stance on LGBT matters by Parliament's Appointments Committee.
The issue of LGBT is an issue that, when mentioned, it creates some controversy. But what I want to say is that our laws are clear on such practice. It makes it criminal. Section 104 of the Criminal Code prohibits one from having unnatural carnal knowledge with another person. So on the issue of criminality, it is non-negotiable. On the issue of our cultural acceptance and norms to these practices are also frowned upon. And so for me, these are two distinct clarity on the matter, and that is what I strongly stand for. Thank you.
Laws can be passed in the interest of public morality, public order, national security, that limit. In fact, if you read the side note, it talks about limitations on rights and freedoms. So I'll give you a current example. Today, there appears to be advocacy starting for LGBT activities in this country. The Attorney General designate, when he came here, made the argument that customary law is accepted by the Ghanaian Constitution. Customary law frowns on LGBT activities. Now, people say, despite the criminal code and the general provisions of customary law, this is just free expression. They are just advocating for it. But if you ask me about law and background, I'll say that that is where somebody like me will argue that then we should be able to contemplate legislation in the interest of public morality, which will not be against the Constitution, but will now say that you cannot advocate for and promote LGBT activities in this country.
So some responses from Information Minister Designate Kojo Nkrumah, and earlier also Sarah Adjuasa, Minister Designate for Gender Social Protection. So we also heard from Shirley Ayokoboche earlier also make similar comments, as well as that of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice Godfred Yeboah-Dame. But are those assurances enough? Well, that's not, according to Executive Director of the National Coalition for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values, lawyer Moses Fuamweni, who maintains more pressure will be piled on government to deal with the situation.
Government, since our press briefing on Wednesday, the president issued instructions, so the office has been closed. Now, there are other things that are going to happen during the course of the week, and if you hear at the vetting, all the ministers of Interior, the Attorney General, and all the other Foreign Affairs consistently stating their position on the matter, that is a reflection of the government's position. But that doesn't mean that we don't need to put more pressure. Let us hold the legislature, let us hold the presidency to ensure that our laws are clean, and we're working on it already.
So that's Moses Fuamweni there speaking on a Walk with Jesus last night, announcing that following their press conference, government has made moves to closing on that office that was opened this week or last week or so in Accra for LGBT group. Well, tonight, a group calling itself Journalists Against LGBTQ Close is demanding the immediate declaration of members of the diplomatic corps who are openly advocating for gay rights as persona non grata and their privileges stripped. Let's speak to a leader of that group, Isaac Boama Daku. Thanks for your time here on Newsnight. So really, why are you making this call for these members of the diplomatic corps to be declared persona non grata and their privileges stripped?
Thanks so much for having me on your program this afternoon. It's very simple. We journalists against LGBT plus Ghana are of the view that these two ambassadors or diplomats, the Australian High Commissioner, His Excellency Andrew Barnes, and the Danish Ambassador, His Excellency Tom Norring, they have been, accused for funding the community space as a result of the LGBT group hosting them as fundraisers on January 31, 2021. And this one, we believe as journalists or as a group that they have flouted the rules or the laws of the land, and therefore they need not to continue to live in our country, a country where we frown on LGBT, a country where we think it's immoral, we think it is against our law, it is unnatural carnal knowledge, and therefore we should not allow these people to continue on their stay in the country. Else they will pollute the system, they will corrupt the system, bring a lot of people together for them to be engaged in these LGBT, where our children will be affected in the near future.
But our constitution guarantees a freedom of association. Why are you curtailing that right? People can advocate. You've heard the Minister for Information Designate, for instance. As it stands now, nobody is barred from advocating for LGBTQ.
Our constitution only allows them to form an association. The constitution do not allow them to practice gayism or lesbianism. Article 21 of the 1992 constitution as enshrined it only gives them the right.
Exactly the point I'm making, Mr. Boama Daku. So these people that are speaking for them, you can't prove that they are engaged in homosexuality, for which reason you can't say that they should be declared persona non grata for the activism and the freedom of association. For opening an office. Currently, as we speak, no one knows where the office is. Even the police do not know the location of the office. And I can boldly tell you that news circulating on social media that the president has even ordered for the closure of that office. The office is nowhere to be located. And I can tell you on authority that the Australian ambassador knows where the office is because he attended the program. He attended the fundraising ceremony. He attended
office opening ceremony together with the Danish ambassador. So they should be in the position to tell us where the office is. If they are not ready to do that, then we don't have to wait in declaring them persona non grata.
Okay, so beyond issuing the statement, what other moves are you hoping or steps you're hoping to take as a group, Journalists Against LGBTQ+?
Yes. We intend holding a demonstration come this Wednesday. And we'll start the demonstration at Obrasport. We are in touch with the police. We are waiting for the police to give us a go-ahead. This afternoon we met with them, and they've given us up to tomorrow to confirm either they will have the men to protect us or not. So we are only waiting for the police to give us the go-ahead to carry out the demonstration.
Mr. Muhammadako, we are grateful for your time there. And also, I told you earlier that we've got some groups, faith-based organizations, including the Catholic Bishops' Conference and the Christian Council, all calling on government to take a stance on this. The latest is the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, and that statement is signed by Reverend Professor Paul Frimpong Manso. The concluding statement, they're saying that they should close down without delay the alleged LGBTQI office in Ghana and immediately arrest and prosecute the individuals or groups behind the alleged opening of this new office in Ghana for breach of the law and potential threat of peace, and 2, summon all foreign diplomats who allegedly participated in the opening of this office in Ghana to explain the violation of the sovereignty of Ghana. And it concludes by saying that the GPCC is very resolute in its stance against the LGBTQI movement and its activities in Ghana, and is standing firm with all other stakeholders on this matter, with the hope that government will take concrete steps to reassure Ghanaians of their unwillingness to succumb to pressure from some notable Western powers to sell out our cherished values and to safeguard the future of our children from a perverse generation of vampires seeking to destroy us. It says, let's do sports now. Rekwam Pafo, what's in sports?
Next 3 minutes as they seek to secure qualification to the knockout stage of the Under-20 Africa Cup of Nations currently ongoing in Mauritania. The Satellites currently also top Group C with 4 points and would need to avoid defeat against Gambia tonight to be sure of qualification to the next round of the competition. Coach of the side, Karim Zito, says he's expecting a tough game.
The way we played against Zambia, Tanzania, we didn't play against Morocco like that. You can see our strategy was to also do something to stop Moroccans because we respect them, they also respect us. So we were very cautious. Both teams were very cautious not to lose, but rather to win. So likewise, the Gambians, I saw them play, but against a club that is not Ghana. One thing about playing against Ghana is everybody wants to beat Ghana. No matter how the team is, everybody wants to beat Ghana. So it always makes our matches so difficult. That is where the tactical issue comes in. So to me, I would say yes. I don't know anything about them, but all what I can tell you is I know they are prepared for it.
It's Ghana versus Gambia and Under-20 AFCON in the next 120 seconds. And all the best to the Black Satellites. That's your sport for now.
Thank you very much. We wish them all the best. And last week, Joy News aired the story about a frail-looking woman, Yawa, who is physically challenged and is struggling to raise her daughter with disability. This story attracted lots of reactions and support from our audience, including the First Lady, Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo, through her foundation. She responded to Yawa's cry for help. But really, now that we have the latest on the situation, my colleague Beryl and Nestina Richter put that together. She's giving us the latest.
As we heard in the report, the First Lady, Mrs. Rebecca Akufo-Addo, was touched by the report of Yawa and her child, so she decided to support her. We played the report on Tuesday. I had a call on Wednesday from one of the reps of the foundation telling me that the First Lady has watched my report and she wants to support Yawa. So what are some of the things I think Yawa would need? I provided a list. Later on, I had a call from the Director of Operations at the Rebecca Foundation. We had to fix a date for us to go to Yawa's house. Yawa was so happy when she saw the items because we didn't tell her that this is the feedback her story has gotten. I just told the neighbor who acts as a caregiver to just tell her that I'll be visiting her that Friday. But so when we got there, she was extremely surprised. She was overwhelmed. It was like a dream come true. And
Indeed, and thank you so much. Ernestina tells me that we've been able to raise over 30,000 Ghana cedis for Yawa. Thank you so much for supporting. And that's it for tonight's edition of Newsnight. That's my opinion with Nanansa Kwao comes up next. And the topic for tonight, some chiefs are their town's headache. And I'll leave you with the bangers that dropped over the weekend.
I don't care, I smoke, and I don't care, everything them talk, I don't care.